Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to start the first Magical Readathon vlog for this year. I'm very excited. The Magical Readathon is my favorite readathon, so I can't wait to start my books. I've also uploaded a TBR video if you want to see my reading plans. I'm reading for the Archmage Calling, so 6 books is what I have on my list. One is still pending right now, but I want to quickly tell you what the books are that I'm carrying over from March that I want to finish first. So we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This one I'm halfway through. I've read 2 of the stories, or like the parts, and 2 are remaining. I have by now today started the 3rd one, and I think I'm about halfway through that one, but I'll update you once I have read more of this. But basically this is about a time traveling cafe where people can go back in time, but there's like very strict rules. So not a lot of people are doing it, but we hear about some of the cases. And then for my audiobook, I had an hour left in, even though I knew the end, which I've also finished by now. I went to the pet shelter again today. I'm in the process of adopting a cat, so on my way I finished the audiobook. I really loved it. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5 stars. Somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5. I had a really good time with that, but I'm still struggling with like very short books. So yeah, I'm actually doing a complete reading vlog where you will hear more of my thoughts on that. But it's basically a fantasy novella that deals with like demons and angels and one main character that is kind of in the middle of it all. So yeah, that was really good. And now I'm waiting because I will get the list for the, what's it even called, like the Riley Marie Patreon kind of readathon that is happening. Officially it is happening in the second half of the month, but we get the lists today. So basically we get matched with another person from Patreon and we could select a genre and do a list of 10 favorite books in that genre. And so yeah, we will get matched and get the other person's list and then can read books from that list. And ideally I would like to read more than one book, so I would like to start right away and not wait until the 15th, but we'll see what's on the list. So yeah, that should be coming any minute, and I will share it with you as soon as it arrives because I'm so excited. And that might be the next audiobook I pick up. We'll see. Maybe I squeeze in something else. We'll see. Okay, so that's my list, and it's very exciting because I already see quite a couple of books that I actually want to read and some that I will probably not read, but that's totally fine and was to be expected. So we have Misery by Stephen King, which is one of the Stephen King books I would consider reading, but I haven't had the biggest luck with him so far. Then we have A Battle Royale. This is interesting because I haven't really thought about reading that, even though I obviously have heard about it. Then we have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, which would fit into one of my reading vlogs that I'm doing right now, except that I have chosen not to include it. So we'll see. Maybe this will finally give me the push. Then we have Lakewood by Megan Giddings, which is one that I have seen around. Then Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Basterica. Now, this one I have seen a lot and it's very intriguing to me. So that's a good one. Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin, I don't know, is not one I have really heard about or considered reading before. Then we have The Perfume by Patrick Süskind. Now, this one I will not read. I know the movie, I disliked the movie, and I don't quite remember. I don't think I had to read it for school, but like some of my classmates, and I'm just not interested. So yeah, no, that's not my taste, I think. Then we have Prosperous Demon by KJ Parker, which is another one that I have seen and I've been really intrigued by. Then Bunny by Mona Awad, again one that I have been very intrigued by and I have been meaning to read for a very long time. And lastly, we have Ring Shout by P. Djèlí Clark. And honestly, if I look at this list, this is actually the one that I would like to start with. So I think that's the one we're gonna start with, number 10. So it's the 2nd of April and I already have updates. Yesterday I finished reading Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and I decided to give this book 3 stars. While I did enjoy it, I just had a little bit of an issue with it. So I already talked about the first 2 stories in my last vlog. It's basically 4 parts. They all take place in this cafe that is kind of like magical, and you can travel back in time, but it has like very strict rules. And so last night I read the other 2 stories, or like parts that are in here. In the 3rd one we follow 2 sisters. One of the sisters passes away and we see how the other sister uses the cafe to talk to her one last time. And then in the last story we see a mother and a daughter, and the mother will not survive the birth. So before she decides to actually have the baby, she wants to travel actually into the future to see whether her child can forgive her that she won't be there for them. So yeah, those are all like very emotional topics, obviously. And the reason why I'm not completely convinced about this book is because, you know, last month I've read the book about nonviolent communication, just a lot about, you know, just talking about your feelings and your needs and communicating with people. And I think that in general this book just didn't show that. So a lot of the times the people still were not really communicating well, even though they had kind of a second chance, and then they would usually still get rewarded even though nothing had really changed. So I just wasn't very happy with that. I would have wished that the people in the cafe, just because they know that they're kind of in this safe space where whatever they do will not have an impact on the future, or the, like, what's it in English, the present. Well, that they would use this opportunity to really talk about their feelings and their needs. And in all of these cases they still struggle with that so much. And especially in the 3rd story as well, the character that we're following isn't even listening to her sister. Like, she has this issue that while her sister was alive, she wasn't listening to her. So she goes back in time to, for once, listen to her sister. And the sister is like, this is what I felt all these years. And the character still doesn't hear her and just makes up her own mind and is like, well, I knew all along that this is what my sister wanted. So now I'm gonna do it. Now that she's dead, I'm gonna do it. And it was not what the sister wanted. It was not. So yeah, that was very frustrating for me to read. And then I also have just a little bit of an issue with the way that Japanese stories are told. I usually feel quite a bit of distance to the characters, and I don't always agree with the like values of marriage and family that are portrayed in these stories. So overall, this was a good read. 3 stars is fine, but I think it was not like the book that was meant for me, or like really gave me anything. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And so with that, I'm gonna start my first book for the Magical Readathon today, and that is The Bronze Beast by Roshani Chokshi. I'm reading this for a separate reading vlog where I'm talking about the whole series, so I will not give you a ton of updates here, but this is my first project now. I have this week off, so I'm very excited to hopefully get through this quite quickly. I have a feeling I won't love this. Because I've talked to some people on Discord and they were like, yeah, if you didn't love the first 2 books, this is probably not the one that will turn it around. But we'll see. I'm going into it with an open mind. Yeah. So that's my plan, and I'm reading that for the challenge to read something with a medal in the title. And then I also started a second book for the Magical Readathon, and that is Ring Shout, as you saw yesterday. That is the one that I use for recommended by a friend. I don't always know the classes that go with it, but I will let you know throughout the video when I finish the books which classes I have completed. But yeah, so I started Ring Shout. I'm not that far in, like 10%. but I am enjoying it. I think the audiobook is very great. I really love the voice of the narrator. It's a very wonderful narration. So yeah, I can't wait to get more into it. But basically this kind of like an alternate history kind of speculative fiction where we follow three women, it seems, who are hunting, not haunting, they're hunting monsters that they call Ku Kluxes. So this is kind of like an alternate history about the Ku Klux Klan, and that there is actual monsters within their ranks, and these women are trying to hunt them down. So yeah, very intrigued, and I'll keep you updated on that one.
Books, but if you're unlucky, I think the longest route is like 13 or 14 books.
So I got my first infant in The Sims 4, which is quite exciting. And yeah, we'll see where that goes. Right now, she's not too happy with me, to be honest. So it is the 4th of April, and I think it is time for a quick update because I'm now about halfway through Ringshout, and this book is a lot. This is, as I said before, I think kind of an alternate history that has Ku Kluxes as monsters, and we follow a woman who is a monster hunter, so she kills these Ku Kluxes. And as I said, I'm right around the halfway point right now, and the last chapter really was a lot. Now this is a horror, so there is a lot of like very creepy shit going on, and I think whenever I saw this book I thought it was more like a kind of monster book, like with zombies or something, that usually I don't find that scary, but this one is actually quite scary. Like the description of these things is pretty gross, and there is like this one like evil entity that is kind of like the endgame villain person, and he is so creepy and gross. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued to see where it goes. I feel quite glad that this match worked out, because this is for this like match readathon that Riley Marie is hosting over at her Patreon, because I put a book on my list for my match that I think is quite similar. It is YA though, so it is not quite as scary and creepy, but it is Dread Nation, and this one actually deals with zombies, but it has like this very similar setup of being kind of an altered history, and so I think the vibes are very similar, and I'm really glad I put that one on my list. So I hope my match will actually pick it up, because I think these books kind of complement each other quite well. They have like very similar vibes with the alternate history setting. The kind of time periods are, I think, a bit different, but since my like American history isn't that great, it feels very similar. And then we have this like woman, this woman in Ringshout and a girl in Dread Nation who are kind of monster fighters, and they try to protect the people they love. So yeah, it's definitely very similar vibes. So I'm glad the like match is quite good on that one. So yeah, I'm really enjoying my read of that. We'll see whether it will end up being a 5-star in the end. I guess it depends on where the second half of the book will go now. But yeah, also the audiobook is very good. I really like the audiobook. And then I'm also halfway through The Bronze Beasts. This is slowing me down quite a bit, to be honest, but I hope that the second half I can read a little bit faster now and yeah, get this done. So today is the 8th of April, and it is time for a bit of an update, because I have finished some books Last night I finished reading Death to Jour by Katie Reichs, and this was a reread that I very much enjoyed. I gave it 4.5 stars on reread. I do not know why I did not remember this book, but it was great. I had a lot of fun with it. This is basically what the TV show Bones is inspired by, but the books and the show are very, very different. So I really enjoy the books. I really like them. And that was the book I read for Inscription. So right now I had finished my prompts for Alchemy and for Inscription. And then just right now I finished Ring Shout by Djèlí. And this book was amazing as well. It's very creepy, it's very gory and kind of gross, but I really enjoyed it. I also gave it 4.5 stars. I think that these kind of like gory monster horror books are not usually my favorite, but I really like the themes and the way it was explored. I really like the idea of these like monster hunters that we see in this book. It had this element of fun. It had a very headstrong main character. There were also moments of grief that were so heartbreaking. I think this book literally had everything, so I really, really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend. I think it is such an interesting exploration of hate and what hate does to people and how hate can corrupt us and how important it is that we protect ourselves from that, because in the end, hate will only eat us up. So yeah, it was really, really good. I would highly recommend. And this was also the first book I read for the I forgot again what it's called, Fates and Fortunes readathon that is hosted by Riley Marie. So I started out with a bang and I'm so glad I did. That was an amazing recommendation from my reading match, and so yeah, perfect. So next I'm gonna start 2 new books that I wanted to quickly introduce. The first one I already started. I have read the first chapter, but it is Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. This would be my 4th book by Louise O'Neill so far. I have really enjoyed her works, and this is actually the first one that I got interested in, but for some reason never picked up. This is compared to The Handmaid's Tale, but it is a YA novel, and it kind of plays with that idea of women who are only made to be wives. So in this one, it seems that the characters we are following are not even naturally conceived, but they're kind of fabricated. And so that's why we also have that like Barbie doll on the cover. I really like the cover as well. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how I like this book. As I said, so far this author has been a hit for me, so this is a 5-star prediction and we'll see how it goes. I'm reading this for Spells and Incantations, which had the like page restrictions, so that was very hard to find a book for, but I'm glad that this one finally has a chance to get read. And then for my audiobook, I want to start Knights of the Mannequins, or whatever it's called, by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a little bit of a stretch because for the Orilium quest I need a book with knight in the title, and this is just a very short novella. I also know that a lot of people didn't really love it, so I think it is kind of like maybe unfair to start with this book for Stephen Graham Jones, but I'll just keep that in mind, and even if I don't enjoy this one, I will definitely read other books by him. The Only Good Indians is on my kind of book recommendations list from my match, but since I thought, you know, I need the knight in the title for the magical readathon, I kind of stretched that because yeah, it is kind of okay to also read other books by the authors that are recommended on there. So it's not the book that I was recommended, but it is an author I was recommended. So we'll try this one and see how it goes. It's very short, so I hope I can update you soon and tell you whether I actually liked it. And I'm so excited to get into the quest because I think the way it is done this year is really, really cool, because we basically can kind of solve a mystery with the alchemy teacher in Orilium. So I'm very excited to start that, and I'm glad I found a very short book to do it so I can continue on. It's so fun. I'm so excited for this. So yeah, that's what I've been reading. I hope you're having a great time with the Magical Readathon, and I'll keep you updated. So today's the 10th of April and it's my last day of work. I'm now halfway through Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. So I would love to finish this today. I don't know if it will actually be possible, but this is quite an interesting book. So this is kind of inspired by The Handmaid's Tale, but it doesn't really go into too much of the backstory of the situation of these girls because they don't actually know a lot. And we follow one girl in particular, so we have only her perspective, so we only know what she knows. But she has a best friend, Isabel. And from what I was reading, it's very easy to see that Isabel is in some way special, like there is something going on with her that we don't know about, and that kind of suspense is definitely pulling me through the book. But this book has so much fat shaming and fat phobia. It also has quite a few ageist comments, so I would highly recommend thinking about whether you actually want to read this, because these girls are basically brought up to be like Barbie dolls. So they have to monitor their weight very, very harshly, and they're there's just this like constant peer pressure to be perfect, to fit in, and it's just a very, very toxic environment that we're reading about here. And it's all done to critique our current society and how especially also like female friendship is portrayed in a lot of media and stuff like that. But while critiquing it, it does the same thing basically. So keep that in mind if you ever think about picking this book up. But I am enjoying the experience of reading this. Depending on the ending, I'm not quite sure whether it will be a 5-star, but I predict that it will at least be a 4-star read. My lucky streak with Louise O'Neill book definitely continues, and I'll let you know what I think at the end, if I manage to get it done today, which would be very exciting. So today is the 11th of April and I have more updates. Last night I did finish reading Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. This again is another masterpiece by this author, and if you can stomach the contents, I would highly recommend it. But also there is a lot of content warnings for this book. I already talked about the fat shaming and the ageism. Later on we also get a lot of homophobia, as well as allusions to sexual assault. One almost sexual assault that our main character can kind of prevent, but it's still like a very harrowing scene. Also non-consensual sex kind of and stuff like that. So there is a lot of like harsh content in here. The sexism is everywhere. It's kind of like the theme of this book. This is kind of a feminist dystopia, so obviously this whole idea is very prominent. Now, I do watch a lot of Jessie on YouTube, and they always mention that in these kind of gender dystopia stuff that trans people are usually excluded, and I would say this is the same here. Even though queerness is mentioned, it refers more to homosexuality and like different sexualities, and there is not actually any mention of trans people, and that's why I decided to leave out half a star, because I think when this book was written, I think in 2014, so almost 10 years ago, that probably was still handled quite differently from today, but still I do really appreciate that criticism that we need more trans representation in these gender dystopias as well. But apart from that, I think this book is so masterfully done. The way that the author kind of manipulates you to kind of think in the rules of this dystopian world, to believe with the main character that this kind, hot dude can be the solution, when really there is no solution, because this is a world of oppression. These girls are never free, and the way that Louise O'Neill portrays that throughout the story, I think is very well done. I really appreciated this look, especially for a YA book. But as I said, very, very heavy content in here. And yeah, it's definitely not a very fun, happy read, but I think one that can be very inspiring. Then I currently have 15 minutes left of my audiobook Night of the Mannequin. I'm really liking it for some weird reason. I'm having a lot of fun with this book. It kind of reminds me of a mixture of Goosebumps books and then, I don't know, some kind of a slasher. But it also has this like funny undertone, like the way the audiobook is narrated reminds me a little bit of the channel The Frank. Just the way the audiobook narrator speaks, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. But it is also a very dark read. It is horror, so there is a lot of like dark stuff going on. I'll talk more about it once I've finished it, but that would be my first book for the quest, which is also very exciting. And then the next book I will be reading is Hollow Kingdom, and I'm very excited for this one because I think this one is also a little bit more humorous. I think we follow the perspectives of animals while there is kind of the apocalypse. I think it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse, so that would be interesting as well. But yeah, this is the book for the challenge to match the outfit with. So I thought I'd do that today when I really start reading this book. So we have this green cover with the black for the crow. I think the crow is the main character of this book. But then we also have like smaller purple details on it. So yeah, I decided to go with a green, kind of a very bright green sweater, black jeans, obviously. This kind of jewelry I got from my mom and my grandparents when I finished my PhD, kind of as a gift. And then I decided to do the purple with a little bit of eyeliner and the lip gloss. Probably could go all out there, but since I'm heading to work now, I think this is all I can do to match the book cover, and I hope it's enough. You can let me know down below if you think it is enough. Do I match my pretty book? And then these pretty books will go back to the library today. This one I read, this one is still unread, unfortunately. And these are the two new books I decided to get from the library. I don't really know anything about any of these two, but this one looked like it deals with a very important topic right now. Not quite sure how much I will enjoy it because of like content stuff, but we'll see. I hope it's good. And this one I've heard good things about, and it's super short, so I hope I can read this for the magical readathon. So I'm a bit of a sweaty mess right now, but I wanted to quickly update you on The Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. I finished it today on my way to work, and I did really enjoy this. I think I will give it 4 stars. I had a lot of fun listening to this book. It is kind of dark, but also kind of oddly funny, and I did really enjoy that mixture because, as I said, it reminded me a little bit of the Goosebumps books, but then for adults or like for older readers. Hi, little one. So yeah, I really had fun. So basically, in this book, we deal with some teenagers that are coming to the end of high school, and they wanna prank one of their friends, but the prank goes wrong, and that kind of leads to our main character kind of losing his sanity, I would say. So this is not great mental health representation, I guess, because obviously not all people with mental health problems are going down that route, I would say. But yeah, I had fun with the story as it is, considering that this is just like a fun horror romp kind of thing. You just go with the flow, and it's just short and snappy, and yeah, I really like the tone of the story. And so, yeah, definitely would recommend if you're looking for a horror that definitely does not take itself seriously at all. And so the next audiobook I started now is The Empress of Salt and Fortune, but I've only just started it. It's very short, it's only 2.5 hours, so I'm intrigued to see how I like it. I do love Nivo's writing style, but I've heard that these novellas are very special in the way that the storytelling works, so it can be a hit or a miss basically, so I'm very intrigued to see on which side I will land. But that won't go towards the magical readathon. I'm reading that for a different reading vlog. We'll see. I have finished the first quest prompt with Night of the Mannequins now, and I had already had a little bit of a sneak peek, so I will now spoil kind of like the quest challenges. So if you don't want to be spoiled for that, I would suggest you don't watch this part until I look different again. But the next challenge, so basically with this first challenge, I have accepted to help the alchemy teacher of Orilium. And so now he's basically telling me all about his problems and what we need to do. And so to kind of move on, I have to read a book while watching the ASMR ambience of the alchemy room that G made. And I've already watched a ton of that. I think it's absolutely fabulous. But I thought for this challenge I would use something quite short so that maybe I can kind of read it while I watch it just once. And so I came from the library right now. And I think the book I want to do that with is Assembly. So I don't know if I will start that tonight or whether I will keep that for another day and just try to finish my classes for now. But I would really love to kind of move further along with the quests as well. It's very hard to decide, but yeah, that's my plans for now. Sorry for the rambling. I also just called the pet shelter and I'm gonna pick up the cat on Saturday. So this will probably still be part of the vlog, I think, because I think I want to stop filming on Saturday. So you might sneak a peek at the cat at the end of this video. We'll see. So this took me pretty much 2 hours to read, and it was fun. It was interesting. I'll have to think about it a little bit more, but the quest is done now. Okay, now this is the first time I can choose with the prompts in the quest, and I chose to go to the nervous scholar elf. And now I can choose between two interactions. I can choose to pretend that I'm the person they're waiting for, or just don't do anything and just see what happens, basically. I think I'm gonna go with this second option. I think I will not reveal anything about myself and just wait to see what happens. And so the prompt is to read a book you don't know much about. So I think the book I'm choosing for this is A Dead Djinn in Cairo. Because apart from the title, I actually don't know anything about this. So it is set in Cairo. I think it is kind of a historical fantasy, maybe with mystery elements. I don't know. But this has been on my list to read very soon, so I think this is the one I will choose after my current audiobook. So, as you have seen yesterday, I read Assembly by Natasha Brown, and I did enjoy this book. I decided to give it 4 stars. This is very literary fiction. It basically has no plot. It's very like stream of consciousness, jumping from one point to the other a lot. So it is kind of hard to follow. Some things are just vaguely hinted at. But in its core, we follow a young black woman in the UK, and she is trying to get to the top. She works a very demanding job in the financial sector. She is harassed by one or more colleagues. She has a very wealthy white boyfriend, and during the course of this book, she is traveling from London to the estate of his boyfriend's parents to join a festivities there. So that's the basic setup. So this book deals a lot with racism and colonialism, but it also has other things sprinkled in there, especially being the only woman and the only black woman in a male-dominated space as the finance sector is, and how you're never taken seriously in a position like that. I think these things are portrayed really well. this book also deals with cancer and the decision not to be treated for it, which I thought was very interesting because that's a perspective I've never seen before, but it was a very minor thing in this book. And we just get a few hints here and there to those interactions. But yeah, I did enjoy this. I think the language was not quite what I wanted from it. Like this can be compared to Open Water, which I read last year and absolutely loved. The writing in that one was stunning, so I think this one can't quite compare for me personally. But I think it's still a very interesting book, a very fast read that still will make you think about the world we're living in. And I think this is more valuable if you're actually from the UK, because there were things in here that I did not understand because I don't have all the context information on it. But yeah, I would recommend checking this out if it is at all interesting to you. With that, I have finished the next quest prompt, which is also very exciting. So today's the 15th of April. This will be the last day of this vlog. And today is also cat pickup day. So I will go and pick up the car now and then drive to the pet shelter. And I'm very nervous. I hate change, even if it's good change. So yeah, I don't know, I'm not really feeling myself right now, but last night I also finished the Empress of Salt and Fortune by Niveau, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think it's a wonderful tale, such a beautiful, magical story about, yeah, female rage and female revenge, and I really liked it. So yeah, I will talk about that more in a different vlog that will be hopefully coming soon. But now I'm gonna start the next book I picked up for the quest of the Magical Readathon. So that would be whatever it's called, the Djinn in Cairo. But yeah, right now my head is somewhere else. So I'm here, the cat's here. They gave me the most ridiculous car. It's like one of those like very expensive, very fast cars that don't have any room in them, so it was a little bit interesting to get all her stuff in this car, but oh well. I had booked quite a different car, but they upgraded me, which means they didn't have any kind of car that I would have wanted. So yeah, whatever. It was a fun experience because I don't usually drive very fast cars, so that was fun. So yeah, so far everything went well. I hope I will get some footage of the cat later. She has some mental health issues, so I try to do it very step by step. So right now she has her own little room. It's really more than not more than a closet, to be honest, and I feel very bad for that, but honestly the room she was in the pet shelter wasn't bigger than it, so I think for like the step-by-step thing it's fine. So right now she is in her room. I have a little bit of a safety net in front of it, so she can't break out basically. And I think for today, I'm not quite sure yet, probably for today I will leave her in that room, and then tomorrow we will open up the hallway of the flat and see what happens, play a little bit and stuff like that. So yeah, very step by step, just getting her to be used to the place so she doesn't get scared. She always knows where her safe spot is in her room, where she can always go and where she is safe and nobody else will enter there. That's kind of the idea. So yeah, it's exciting. I also have to get rid of the car later, but I hope that I will get some reading done later because I've fallen behind on my plans. Like when I had my days off, I was so good. Like I only have 2 books left to read for my Magical Readathon challenge, but one of those books is very long and the other one I have not been reading for 2 days now. So yeah, I hope I can read later. But right now, it's very exciting, and so I have a little bit of trouble focusing my mind, to be honest. So this is the ending of this vlog. I hope you enjoyed the first part of my magical readathon reading. I'm definitely quite happy with what I achieved, even though right now I'm only about a third into Hollow Kingdom, and I really wished I would be further along with it, because the last book I have to read is Grace of Kings, and it's a long one, so I would like to have a lot of time to do that. So yeah, I am enjoying Hollow Kingdom though. The writing style is a little bit too edgy for me, and I'm not in love with the translation, but the story is very touching, and yeah, I think in its core quite a sad story, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes. We also had an octopus showing up, so I always appreciate that. You also have it on the cover as well, on the back cover in this German edition. I think in some other versions it is actually on the front too, but yeah, that's gonna happen next week. Grace of Kings is gonna happen in the next 2 weeks, and then we will finish this readathon successfully. So I hope you also had a good time reading for these first 2 weeks of the readathon. I will also keep you updated what happens with the cat, obviously, in the next vlog. So if you want to see that, please come back. And yeah, leave a nice comment or a like. I can never say that. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.